Whoa! You know what I just realized, Co-Mayor Alexa?
What?
That I have quite a few couples in figure form, and now that I got my Elite 87 Candice LeRae, it goes perfectly with my Elite Johnny Gargano.
What other couples do you have?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of couples that I am missing, but considering I'm primarily a women's wrestling figure collector, I'm surprised I have the couples that I have. I got Scarlett and Carry-On. I got Seth and Becky. I got Bianca and Montez. And I got Diva Marie and Jungle Boy. Hey, Diva Marie, what are you doing with my Jungle Boy figure?
Well, heard you talking about couples, so I figured me and my boyfriend would show up and show out.
Woof.
Geez, how desperate are you to go for a Jazzwares figure?
Hey, no need to go there. But, hate to tell you this, but that figure isn't real. Well, not like you, Robo-Tamina, and Co-Mayor Alexa.
But what if I use the magic cabinet to bring him to life like us?
Okay. If I knew that watching Indian in the Cupboard was going to cause this much of a fuss, I would have never picked it for family movie night, girls. Never!
Well, at least it's not as weird as Robo-Tamina and her love interest.
Chicken fight, chicken fight! Chicken fight!
Hey y'all, welcome to Lumberjillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now I'm super excited to finally review my Elite 87 Candice LeRae. As I mentioned before, I put out the Oscar review already, so make sure you check that out. But I have really been anticipating this and wanted it to be its own review because this looks like a special Elite, just like the Oscar one. So with that being said, let's take a closer look. So we're going to briefly cover this figure MOC. I do like to show y'all the figure MOC because I know there's a lot of MOC collectors out there that kind of want to see how it looks. And yeah, obviously I open all my figures, but I do collect some additional ones to keep MOC and hang them up. And this one looks pretty cool in the box, but unfortunately that entrance vest, jacket, whatever you want to call it, is not on her. So it looks kind of weird being up in the corner, but I get it because it would probably leave marks on her attire. But either way, taking a look at this box, we have seen this style box since Elite 81 with the photo of the wrestler on the front, along with that certified authentic little logo there. We have this photo blown up on the side of the box, and on the other side we have an actual entrance photo of her in the attire. On the back we have a nice little bio, and we have the rest of the set. So, yeah, with that being said, let's take a closer look at this figure because I know a lot of people had questions about it. Elite Series 87 Candice LeRae. This attire is from NXT TakeOver In Your House 2020, which took place on June 7th in Winter Park, Florida. On this night, Candice's team of Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez lost in a 6-woman tag match to the team of Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, and Tegan Knox. So my first impressions of this figure right out of the box are pretty good, to be honest with you. I really like the attention to detail and the love that went into this figure. I also like that entrance vest with the wings. And I am going to cover each little detail, but there are some negative things I noticed right out of the box. And I think a lot of y'all noticed in the images of the final product, something looked off about the figure. It almost looked too short, like everything was shrunk down, but looking at it with my own eyes, I can honestly say that, in my opinion, the thing that really throws the figure off are the boots. Now, she does have that style boot, but they made them very thick and huge. It almost looked like it was a previous sculpt that was used on a men's figure and they put it on this because they are huge and that really throws the figure off. If these boots were a lot more thin, more conforming to her leg, then I think the figure would look excellent. However, unfortunately, I feel like the boots are way too thick, way too big, and kind of throw off the scaling of the figure. But either way, we'll cover all that in detail in a little bit. Alright, so starting off with Candice's face scan, I absolutely love it, to be honest with you. I think they did an excellent job with the sculpt of her face, and that TrueFX printing technology looks really good. I also like the inclusion of her dark lipstick. Now, I am going to point something out that I also noticed on the Liv Morgan Elite 85. If you look at her eyes closely here, there's like a ledge, a bulging ledge above her eyeballs. Now, I believe what that is for when they do the face printing, the eyelashes can sit on that and kind of protrude out and look realistic. However, mine's a little lower than it should, I believe. I think it still looks excellent, doesn't take away from the figure, but that is important to note because if you find this figure out on the shelves, look closely at the scan because I have a feeling, because those ledges are included, if these eyes are even a little bit off, it's going to look crazy. So it might be one of those scans where you really have to investigate and look closely to make sure that it is printed on correctly. Now I know a big topic of discussion has been the hair. Now I think the sculpt is great. The coloring is not very accurate. It's kind of hard to see, but it is like a pastel purple, I guess you could say. And if you look at images from the night, it isn't just a straight pastel purple, so it would have been nice to have some color variation and somehow make it look more realistic, but that kind of goes with like the Elite 83 Sasha Banks, how it was just straight blue. There wasn't really any root coloring or anything like that, so that's definitely something they can improve on in the future, but I do like the sculpt. She even has a little clip in her hair on that side. But I am going to say something that I noticed on this one. It's not on my daughter's, but her hair was like glued to her back. So it did rip off a little strip of the hair, but that's an unfortunate situation for me. So next up, we're going to take a closer look at her attire. Now, before we break it down, I'm going to point out the first thing I noticed, and that is the big swing and a miss as far as the color of her attire goes. Now, I know the purple, the pink, it's accurate. However, there is absolutely no shine, no metallic paint, no shimmer to this. And I have to tell you, that's a big glaring issue in these women's figures. And I've said that for a long time. And we just started to see some metallic paint on a lot of the women's basics. And I've been impressed with that. I mean, look at the SummerSlam Basic 121 Bayley, for example. This figure would have really flourished if it had some metallic paint to it. I mean, this is the freaking Poison Pixie. She has so many attires that have glitter and shine, and we just don't get that here. It's just kind of solid pastel type colors, and that's a huge disappointment and a huge letdown. But, like I said, that doesn't ruin the figure. It's just a big disappointment because you would think, especially in the Elite women's figures, we'd start to see the metallic, shiny type paint application, but we're just not. So, with that being said, let's take a closer look at her attire. Alright, so starting out with the positives here, I am happy to say that this entire top piece is a molded, unique piece to her. Now, as you can see, there's little folds molded throughout, all the way to the back. And on the front, we have these little silver rivets or studs that are molded on, going up and then down. And what's really unique, if you look close, are these straps that go across her chest are molded straps. Now, there is a negative to that because the gray paint that is supposed to line up with those molded straps, it just doesn't, and it looks sloppy. And I looked at my daughter's, and it looks even worse. So I don't know what happened there, but the gray definitely doesn't line up on this or my daughter's, and it does look pretty sloppy. But maybe that entrance jacket will cover it up. We'll take a look at that next. Now, looking at her hand, she does have silver fingernails, so that's definitely a nice inclusion. She has pink on her left wrist, purple on her right, just painted on. Her bottoms do have a molded, she has those high-waisted bottoms in her attire, and this is molded on in her midsection, so that's nice. But we have that dull gray with the purple, the pink, and on the front we have a little neon yellowish green little accent there. Now, it is important to note that original painted images of this figure showed this purple going down to either this joint or maybe even longer. They were way too long. They look like bicycle shorts, but they did fix it and shortened them, and it looks accurate and very good. So she has purple knee pads with purple sleeves underneath, and then once again, these boots, they're way too big. They do have nice molded detail, and the shoelaces are even molded on and painted silver. But yeah, I think those boots really throw it off. So a lot of molded detail, but the paint application kind of takes it down a notch. Alright, so before we get to the main event and check out the entrance jacket and put it on her, I want to do a quick little run through of her articulation because it is a unique body mold. So her head looks right and looks left. It moves okay in a circle, but once again, it's a little inhibited by the hair. And what's funny is, when my hair was glued on the back, I had a zero articulation with the head, but that was just a mistake on mine. That's not the same on all of them. The shoulder is on a ball joint. We get a lot of good movement here. We have that upper arm swivel. We have elbow flexion and no double jointed elbows, which is a disappointment, but hopefully we see more. The wrist flexes, extends, and can swivel. She has a really nice upper torso swivel with this mold. I mean, she has a lot of range of motion here. She also has a waist swivel there. Her hip is on a ball joint, a lot of good movement. We have the upper thigh swivel. We have knee flexion, which you can move the knee pad and allow her to really flex it a lot. So that is double jointed, has a lot of motion there. She also has a little swivel at the top of her boot mold, and her boots, or her feet, can plantar flex, dorsiflex, and they can also rock side to side. Now you would think with these big boots they'd be a nice stable base, but mine are pretty loose, which is per the usual for a lot of my women's figures, which is a little bit of a letdown, but pretty good articulation here. Alright, so before we get started with that jacket, I just want to show the other accessories she does come with are semi-open hands. Once again, the nails are painted silver, which is a nice touch, and she can hold on to things this way. But here it is, the main event. The entrance jacket vest type thing with the little pixie wings. Now these are molded on, and the molding detail is pretty awesome. The way they attach to the jacket vest, I believe they're just glued on. And this jacket vest itself is really nice. It has a high collar to it, has a couple tones of green kind of mixing in, and the purple is painted on pretty nice. So with that being said, I have her in the position I want her in to put the jacket on. And I know if I took the hands off, it'd be easier, but your boy is up for a little challenge. So I shimmy one hand in, I shimmy the other, and it slides up. Wow. Okay, that was pretty easy, y'all. And it goes on pretty freaking good, man. I'll try to match up that little peg in the front there, but here it is. I mean, it looks pretty cool. The one thing I do notice is the wings, at least mine, are kind of going back there. And I wish they were kind of like this. Maybe after some playing with it, like molding it around, it'll work better. But I mean, this is cool. I mean, this is how you want to display your Candice LeRae. I mean, this just looks awesome. This is great. It definitely stands out on your shelf. And here's one last look at Elite Series 87, Candice LeRae. So overall, I give Elite Series 87 Candice LeRae a score of a 7.9 out of 10. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've never struggled so hard to determine a score. Now, I know it's all subjective, but hear me out. So to have an NXT female superstar's first figure in the line be an Elite, that is awesome, and I am all about that. I love that. Most talented roster in the world, NXT women. And I love Candice LeRae. She is so talented in her own right. And honestly, with this figure, we get an excellent face, we get really cool accessories, and unique tooling and molding for her. However, there are some pretty glaring negatives. Now, the first thing that I pointed out, which is pretty noticeable, is those boots are really big, really thick. It kind of throws a figure off. And another huge issue is the paint application. Not only is it a little sloppy on her ring attire, But where's the shine? Where's the glimmer? Where's the sparkle? I mean, this is the Poison Pixie, and we didn't get that, and that's a huge letdown. So there are positives, there are negatives. It's up to everyone's own interpretation. To me, is this one of my favorite figures? It is, to be honest with you, but it's definitely not one of the highest rated. So with that being said, I would definitely try to seek this out because it is cool. Thanks for stopping by Lumberjillville. Women's wrestling lives here. For a first look at all future women's wrestling figures, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and join the community. If you want to support Lumberjillville, head over to ProWrestlingTees/LJV and get some merch. Also, make sure to check out the Treasure Knives podcast every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. wherever you listen to podcasts called Lumberjillcast. With that being said, I hope you all have a great night, y'all.